Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Today we are going to study duty. What is duty? Is every act a duty or not? Duty is one of those universal abstract terms like consciousness, like love. It's difficult to define them. But we will try, because duty is such a very important concept. You see, sometimes you can understand these abstract ideas better without words, isn't it? Kartavya kya cheez hai? We know it very well, its value, its importance. But we will try to put it into definable terms. It's the sense of moral obligation you feel in any given situation. It's the sense of that I ought to be doing this, which you feel. Another definition which I gave you in the last class was Kant's definition, the inner categorical imperative, something I have to do, yahi karaniya hai, is in this situation, that is duty. You can say it's the volitional expression of your conscience, an inner directive that you need to do this. You can call that as duty. So you see, in our own way we can understand what duty means. Last class you must have understood the entire deontological perspective of ethics. It's based on this concept of duty. And in Indian culture also it has been held, given the highest place. Devotion to duty is the highest thing in life. If there is devotion to duty, that duty itself will carry you forward. So what we are today calling excellence in the workplace is something like duty, giving out the best performance that you are capable of, dedicated work. So all this is included under duty. One remarkable thing about duty is, it is, in a sense, it is based on your identifications. If you are identified with one particular thing, you have a particular set of duties. Like for example, you are students now. So it's mandatory, your mandatory duty is to study. For a teacher, for a doctor, there are a definite set of duties which they have to perform because they are identified with the profession of a teacher or a doctor or whatever. Take the case of a soldier. If any man shoots somebody on the road, you will call it murder and he will be put behind bars. But if a soldier kills 20 people along the enemy line, he is considered to be doing great duty, isn't it? So in a way it depends on your identification, what role you are identified with, what is your station of life at that particular moment. Accordingly your duties are set. And if you are not identified with anything else also, as a human being, since you identify with this body-mind mechanism, you have certain humanitarian duties, humanitarian values, what we say. So duty is based on that. So duty is an abstract concept and we have to draw many things from it. Vivekananda used to say, in Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, there is one whole chapter devoted to duty. And there he says that it is difficult to define duty on the objective front, because duties are different for different people. But on the subjective front you can define duty. Anything that elevates you and ennobles you is your duty, and anything that degrades you, makes you feel bad about yourself, that is not your duty. अब ये आप ही सोच के देखो what this means. Duty naturally means something which is helpful to you, something which builds your life, elevates your life. This is another one definition that is there. Then there is this concept of what is called swadharma in our culture. It is actually a duty peculiar to your nature, is called swadharma. It's a special kind of duty, you can say, peculiar to your nature. Later we will go towards it, what it means, but just here you should know about it. Another thing which Vivekananda points out is, not that duty is always easy, isn't it? Sometimes duties can be very difficult. In fact, Vivekananda says, duty is seldom sweet. Rarely is it sweet. It becomes sweet only when love greases its wheels, he says. Which means what? Many times the duties we have to perform, they may not be to our liking, nor do we have any inclination to do, but करना पड़ रहा है, ऐसा situation आ सकता है. But just because it's your duty, you have to do it. Intelligent is that man who converts his duties into something which he is able to do with gusto, with joy, with happiness. One who is able to do his duties in that manner, accepting that this to be the universal way of life. One who is able to dedicate himself to his duty, one who develops devotion to his duty, that man becomes truly great. देखिए, these are all qualities of leadership which your modern leadership paradigm may not give you, but they are part and parcel of your culture. In this culture, always duty was placed above everything else. The entire deontological ethics is based on duty. So this is a concept which you should deeply think about. In any situation, you must ponder and think, what is my duty in this situation? मुझे किसी ने करने को नहीं कहा, सो मैं नहीं करूँगा. This is not the answer. This is not right thinking. As a human being here in this particular situation, under these conditions, what should be my ideal duty? This is something for all of us to think about. मैंने आपसे कहा था ना, action will be good, reliable only if you think a bit before you jump into the act. If you don't think at all, if it's just pure impulse, then you can never know where that impulse will take you. So duty के बारे में भी चिंता करनी है, सोचना है. In this particular, whenever you find yourself in a conundrum, in a kind of enigmatic situation, puzzle, then you must think, what should my duty be, and you will get the right answer. अगर ये प्रश्न ना पूछो, what should be my duty in this situation, there will be no inclination towards action in the right direction. So this concept of duty is so important. That is why it has been elevated to such an extent. If you read the life of our great historical heroes, you will see total dedication to duty, not what they felt was nice at that moment, not what according to public opinion. They didn't move according to all this. They were not whimsical. They were always predictable because they were duty bound. So to become the center of reliability, that is what a leader is, isn't it? You have to be dutiful. किसी भी situation में मेरा कर्तव्य क्या है? This should be paramount. If you want to be a real leader, if you want to get genuine respect in life, then you must think of duty. That is why we are going to discuss this extensively. Vivekananda also says, see, duty is sweet only through love, through inclusiveness. Don't think a karma yogi is a man of mere will, very strong will. Every bit of him is well developed. That is why the expression and action is like that. So this is one aspect of duty. Another thing is, we can only rise by doing the duty next to us. Whenever we ask questions like, what is the purpose of life? What is the goal of life? You know, the only way you can move towards the highest goals of life is by doing the duty that has fallen upon you, due to your identifications, due to your station in life. तो ये सोचने की बात है ना? What should be my duty then? Today you are students. Tomorrow you will be somewhere else in some particular position. Then what should be my duty? Your decision making depends on this, your identifications. And so it is something to think about. You should not leave it just to the abstract plane. Vivekananda used to give a story here while talking of this idea. He gives a very good story. देखिए, कभी कभी ये हमारे मन में भी आता है, my particular station of life, is that the highest duty, or is there a greater duty and a lesser duty? ये आता है ना, which is the best duty? So this story is based on that. You see, there was a king in a kingdom who was always asking questions to his courtiers and the wise men in his kingdom as to which is the greatest duty. Is it a householder who takes all the duties in his who actually is able to do all his duties in a dedicated spirit, who is able to contribute vastly to society, is he greater, or is a sannyasi who does not take up any duty, responsibility at home, but who searches God? Is this a greater dharma? He used to ask which is a greater duty between the two. And then many wise men gave him their ideas, their counsel, but he was not satisfied. One day, you just listen to this story properly and it will show you, it will give a very valuable lesson to you. The stories remain in our minds, isn't it? So just pay attention to this story. One day one sadhu came to his kingdom, came to his palace, and the king asked him also, who is greater? Is it the duty of a householder greater or that of a sadhu, a sannyasin? And then this sadhu said, each is great in his own place, my lord. Each is great. Don't compare the two. In their own place, each is great. Then the king said, well, what proof do you have for this? How do you know each is great in their own place? Then the sadhu said, okay, you come with me, I will demonstrate and show you. So he took him for a long walk into another kingdom. Or वहाँ पर in the marketplace of that kingdom, there was a swayamvar going on. Swayamvar आपको पता होगा? Huh? So in those days, princes they used to select their husbands through a swayamvar, and a lot of nobles had gathered there, and princes were there, and now this princess had to select a suitor, a prince. Now this princess was very choosy. Many times her father had conducted this swayamvar and she had not selected anybody. So this time another one phase of that was going on. So she went about with a garland in her hand. Now you remember our king and that sadhu are standing there. They suddenly noticed in that crowd of people, another young sannyasin came there and stood there. And this girl who was going around with that garland in her hand, she went and garlanded that sannyasin, that young man. And he was enraged and he removed the garland, threw it on the ground and said, what is this? And then the king of that kingdom, he thought maybe he is a poor man, so he doesn't want to accept his daughter. So immediately he announced that whoever marries my daughter gets half my kingdom, and after my death he will get the whole kingdom. So he is sort of offering him everything, so as to say. But this young man was furious, this young sannyasin, and he just threw the garland and everything and started running away from there. And this crazy girl, this princess, she started following him. And then our king and the sadhu also, they thought, let us follow them and see what happens. So then the young sannyasin made his way to the forest, and he knew all the forest paths, so he just vanished from there. And this girl did not know which way to go, so she sat under a tree and started crying. Now this king and the sadhu came there and they reassured her, they told her, we will show you the way back to your palace. But it was already night, so they all rested under a tree. Now under that tree, they all sat down there, and on that tree was the family of a bird. There was a bird and his wife and his 3 little ones, who were very dedicated to their duties. Now he was such an ideal householder, this bird. He immediately saw that 3 people had come under his tree, so they are his guests. You remember that injunction in the Vedas, Atithi Devo Bhava. So he has to do something for them, he thought, and it's so cold, it's going to be nightfall. So he went somewhere and bought a small firebrand. And then he put it on the ground, and immediately they added twigs to it and created a fire, and so they were warm enough. Then he told his wife that you see, these 3 people are there, they are our guests, but we have nothing to, no food to give them. And in this night, where can I go in search of food? So let me do a thing, I will sacrifice my body. I will jump into this fire, and so they can roast me and have me for food. And he actually jumped into the fire, that bird. Now he saw, the wife of this bird saw that one bird is not enough, and how can I allow my husband's dharma to go waste, his sacrifice, how can I allow it to go waste? So she also jumped into the fire. And the 3 little birds, little ones of this couple, they also jumped into the fire, offering their bodies as food for these guests. Now of course these guests could not eat that, eat those birds, but immediately they understood the extent of dutifulness, the extent of sacrifice in these birds. And then the next day the sannyasin showed that princess her way home, and then he told the king, you see my lord, if you have to be a householder, if you are identified with that duty, you must be like these birds. You see how great is their sacrifice, how great is their sense of duty. And if you are identified with the dharma of a sannyasin, you must be like that young man who could have got everything, but who did not show respect for anything, completely detached from everything. So I say each is great in his own place, but at the same time the duty of the one is not the duty of the other. Duties are different, but any duty performed with entire dedication, complete consecration will lead you to the highest. इसलिए ऐसी बात नहीं उठती कि which duty is greater, whose duty is greater, which is the particular position of life, that is the station of life that is greater. ये प्रश्न ही नहीं उठता. Any duty. Previously we discussed the story of that Vyad, the butcher, and that common house lady. You see, just performance of duty with dedication, with love, and they have reached the highest knowledge. So this is the nature of duty. If it is performed with detachment, with love, you see, this is something you have to work upon, with love and yet with detachment, with a certain sense of dedication. It can take you to the highest values of life. इसीलिए तो कहते हैं ये परम धर्म है, duty, कर्तव्य. And if you put it aside just because you have certain whims, because you are given too much to your emotions, because your friends told you something, if you don't do your duty at any particular point, you will pay for it, that's all. He becomes a leader who is dutiful. So the whole team knows he is completely reliable, he is predictable in any particular situation. जो अपना duty करते हैं, such a person alone will be relied upon, because in any situation everybody knows how he will react, what he will do. इसीलिए this concept of duty, it is all in all for the karma yogi. In any situation of life, he will do what is जो उचित है, not what pleases him, not what pleases others, not what public opinion says, but what is the right duty at that particular point. He will only do that. तो इसलिए आप सोच के देखो, in the complicated situations of our modern day life, how duty bound we can be and what duty should mean in any particular situation. थोड़े अंदर में clarity, if your mind is clear, you will immediately understand what is your duty in any particular situation. If the mind is not clear enough, then well, बहुत सोचने से भी answer नहीं आएगा, क्या उचित है मुझे करना इस situation में. So this is a general introduction, you have to work upon it. We are going to give you practicals, which we will be discussing at the end of this session. So there also we will take up this idea practically, how you will use these ideas. So it is this idea that was always kept uppermost in almost all cultures, it's not just here. Because everybody understands, in a sense, the sense of duty is what augments human evolution, what pushes human evolution. And it is not just surrender to your emotions or whatever. If a human being is not dutiful, he is not reliable. है ना? Instinctively you know this, isn't it? Just look at your own home. If your parents had not done their duties, would you be where you are today? Their duties towards you, their duties towards your education, their duties towards making you stand on your own feet, their duties towards your neighbors, their duty towards your school teachers. They did everything as it was appropriate to the situation. And so you are here today. If every man did his duty, the world would be a very beautiful place. It's only when we don't understand the concept of duty and we are insensitive to it or we neglect it, then all problems come into our lives. Whether I like it or not, whether my friends support it or not, I will do what is the right thing to do in any particular situation. This disposition you should develop. will इसके लिए ही होता है. Without caring for anything, you must do your कर्तव्य जो कहते हैं, जो करणीय है. Now let me go take a little detour to just explain another concept to you. See, suppose in a family there are 4 children, and each one has different endowments. One has great intellectual capacity, another one has great artistic talent, another one has great physical resilience, another one is very caring and loving type. Now each one has different characteristics, you see. This was the basis of our Varna and Ashrama system in the past in Vedic India, and this initial procedure to divide labor and profession based on the ability and excellence of youngsters that turned into the horrendous caste system later on. And all great thinkers who were born in India, starting from Buddha to Vivekananda, all of them put down the caste system, because anything based on birth or lineage is not the ultimate thing about the person. It should be based on your character, on your sense of duty, on the work that you do. That decides, that's the defining attribute about you. So they have all upheld the ideal of the Brahmana, that is the Brahmin, who is a super sattvic person, but they put down the caste system. Many times division of labor, in many countries they have had their own kinds of caste system, and here also you know the extent to which it developed. So they have put this down only for this simple reason, that a man's worth is decided not by his birth and lineage, but by his actions, by his character, by his sense of duty, moral obligation. That defines you. और इसके लिए, you see the Dhammapada, I have a quotation here from the Dhammapada. It says, not by matted hair, nor by lineage, nor by caste does one become a Brahmana. He is a Brahmana in whom there is truth and righteousness. Him I call a Brahmana whose wisdom is deep and he possesses knowledge, who discerns the right way and the wrong, and who has attained the highest end. There is a beautiful incident in the life of the famous Hindi author Mahavir Prasad Dwivedi. उन्होंने एक बहुत सुंदर, उनके जीवन में ये हुआ था. You see, his home was in a village, his ancestral home. So one day he had gone to that village and he was moving about in the fields there, and suddenly he heard the scream of a woman. So he ran there and saw what was happening. This woman was fallen on the ground and a snake had bitten her, and she was wailing and shouting. Now at once, you see, with a snake bite, immediately you have to stop the poisonous blood from flowing, isn't it? So you have to compress that artery. You need a tourniquet. ऐसा बांधना पड़ता है. You have to compress that artery. Now for him, he did not have an extra piece of cloth. So what he did, he removed his janeu. वो उपवीत कहते हैं ना, यज्ञोपवीत, the sacred thread. He removed that and he tied her foot where the bite had taken place. He tied on the top and below the wound, and immediately the poison stopped from spreading and her life was saved. But a number of people gathered there when he was doing this, and a huge crowd gathered, and then there was an orthodox Brahmin in that crowd, and he started saying, you used the sacred thread for this purpose, tying it to a Shudra woman's leg, and all these things he started saying. Immediately Dwivedi ji stood up and said, I have put my sacred thread to good use. This is the definition of a Brahmin, he who is compassionate. What is the meaning of saying Brahmin, non-Brahmin, Shudra, this and that, when human life is at stake? I have put my sacred thread, my janeu, to very good use, and I am proud of it. So you see, this is the spirit of a true Brahmin. In the Vedas, there is this statement, Yo dayavan sarva bhuteshu sarvada sadvija shrestha. So as we evolve in life, what happens? More empathy and compassion come into our life. That is why the deep sense of dutifulness comes. Tomorrow you will be earning huge salaries. You should know how to use that money. Abhi se agar ye sanskar aaye man mein, you understand the value of all these discussions, then you will become dutiful towards others. You will understand that money is with you as a trustee. It is to be given to for welfare purposes, social welfare. Just today somebody had come to our ashram and they were telling us the condition in villages, really the condition of even women in villages, it's so pathetic. No freedom, education, although that right to education has been installed, how many are getting educated? The family itself restricts the education of girl children. So you see, there is a lot to do and you must consider it to be your duty. At some point in life, आपको ये समझ में आएगा, unless you are doing for others continuously on an everyday basis, no peace or fulfillment can enter your life. Don't think peace and fulfillment come only through yoga. Yoga itself is possible only through karma, great selfless karma. Then yoga is possible. So make this part of your thinking right now. Dutifulness in any particular context or situation of life. This is our dharma, you know, our swadharma. This is what we should be doing. As young people, even more this impulse constantly to do good, to help wherever we can should come into our lives. And you will see your life will become very beautiful. आप अपने घर में ही देखो, ये करके देखो थोड़ा, and you will see what a beautiful family it will be. अगर ये नहीं करोगे ना, then you keep blaming others. And you yourself will go into depression at some point because you have not contributed. Many times we discuss this idea of yajna. Try to digest it, assimilate it completely. So karma is always, remember, not just what you do, what you failed to do. When you had the resources, when you had the capacity, yet you didn't pay attention because you were busy with your ego. That creates a lot of negative karma. So be a giver, contributor. If you want success in life, please know this. You must be a selfless contributor wherever you can, and all success will descend upon you. ठीक है? In this course, this one thing you should digest. If I want success in life, I must be a contributor. Now, Vivekananda, you actually defined, you know, good and bad based on unselfishness and selfishness. He used to say the difference between God and the devil is nothing but unselfishness and selfishness. The devil, you know, he knows as much as God. Please see this, and he is as powerful as God. Only he has no holiness. He has no unselfishness in him. So he has become the devil. You don't become a God just by knowledge. You become a God by using that knowledge in the right direction. So the very definition of what is good is what is unselfish. Make this a part of your thinking and life. Then we will now go into the psychology of success. Because to develop leadership skills, understand this, basically a dutiful disposition of mind. You watch the life of any leader, even if you take these great business houses of India today, like Reliance for example. Dhirubhai Ambani's life, have you read? The founder of Reliance Industries, or the founder of Infosys, Narayan Murthy's life, or Bill and Melinda Gates. Read their lives and see. You will see they were, the very disposition was, what can I contribute in this particular situation. They developed that right from a very young age. इसलिए इतने बड़े बड़े काम कर सके वो. This is the secret of success. You see, today's workshops may not tell it to you so bluntly, but this is the basic secret of success, that everybody finds you reliable in every particular situation. You are a contributor everywhere. You are not a go-getter. You have a very well-developed advanced EQ जिनका होता है ना, emotional quotient and spiritual quotient. They become like this. उनकी दृष्टि ऐसी हो जाती है. What can I do for you? So, you see, for success, what you need is a very intelligent mind, but a beautiful mind, a dutiful mind, and then inclusive ambitions. Ambitions will be there. They should be there at your age. They should be inclusive, not exclusive. And then that will give you greater skill, more accountability and more expertise in your workplace, isn't it? If you are purely exclusive, you know, you don't know how to contribute. That is the meaning. So, the leadership thing will fail in you. So try to catch all these points right now. Vivekananda used to say the whole secret of work, he gives you the individual secret and the collective secret of success in life. Just watch this. He says, individual success, for that we already discussed this idea. You must be very concentrated. Take up one idea, think of it, dream of it, live on that one idea. Let your brain, muscles and nerves be full of that idea and leave every other idea alone. This is the secret of success. So high level competence and excellence and this level of concentration ensures your success individually. यही आप अभी कर रहे हो. हाँ. Remove all distraction for your life, from your life and remain focused on what you want to achieve. So this is the secret of individual success. We are very good at this. Indians as a whole are very good at this. Our problem is in collective success. You see, the next thing which Vivekananda says is, collectively, the whole secret of success for us as a nation lies in organization, accumulation of power, coordination of wills, being of one mind is the secret of society. The basis of this is character, mutual trust and team spirit. Please remember this, when it comes to organization, many times we fail. Because many times our own mind is not organized. If our own will is not fixed and directed in a particular direction, how are you going to coordinate other wills? So this art of organization means the art of first organizing your mind, your capacities, and then you can inspire others with it. Many times we falter here. Collectively, you see, this mutual trust, team spirit, success in an organization comes only by the power of character. All of these are included in collective success. You take any event in India, if it's an individual, even sports event, we are very successful there. But if it's a team, well, we are learning to be successful. So we must learn to coordinate wills and work together. You know, to be able to work together, there is a particular mindset which you must develop. This is part of your psychology of success. First of all, you must be able to accept others on par with you. In an organization, this is so important. Secondly, your speech should be sweet. Many times we ruin our own success by just giving vent to our whatever emotions are taking place in our head. Communication skills should be there. Otherwise, you cannot carry on any organized collective work. And the team spirit should be very strong, which means what? You give credit to others. You are able to empower others. You take into consideration the opinions of others. You don't consider yourself to be supreme. You are able to delegate work. Then you will be able to extract work and respect. So these are all parts of collective success. छोटी छोटी चीज़ें हैं, अभी से अगर practice कर लो, you see it will become part of your life. To work in harmony with others is a great art. Many times we are at harmony with ourselves, but not with others. But real development means being able to work with others in a very harmonious spirit and bringing success there. So as I told you, if you read the lives of these great ones, you will see how they were able to do it. A leader essentially means this: he is able to coordinate the wills of others. His own will is so fixed, so determined, he is able to coordinate the wills of others. One more thing which I would like to tell you is, you should remember success and failure, they appear to be vastly different in the beginning. But if your system is not trained, the end of both is the same. Which means what? Whether you are driving a BMW or a Mercedes or just cycling across the road, your happiness depends upon the state of your mind, the unobstructed flow of life energy in you, your vital energies. If they are in a particular state of refinement, you will always be happy. It actually does not depend upon your BMW or Mercedes. You can have that, no problem. But your happiness depends upon the states of your mind. A very developed mind will be happy anywhere. So the essential thing, if you have not fixed and you are only fixing the outside, you will lose upon, even if you are very successful in life. you will lose upon these basic things. You are very successful in your profession, but the domestic life is in shambles. So no happiness, no peace. ऐसा भी होता है ना? In so many families this is going on. Even nuclear families are not able to stay together. Why? These basic things we have not corrected. First, I must be aware of what is going on in my own system, how developed it is. If I am able to be at peace with myself and develop a mind which is inclusive, you will be very successful anywhere. So, understand these things. You see, what are the negativities which we have? Egoistic resistance to the bounty of universal life. है ना? कभी कभी we are too egoistic. You don't know what you are defending because we don't know what our ego means. Then, not being able to contribute due to perverted and exaggerated ideas about oneself. Then, playing with life energies. When you play with relationships, you are playing with life energy. It is not good. So, these basic things आज बोलना पड़ रहा है. At a time our cultural values were so strong, we did not have to go to this level at all. But now you must understand, take these things very seriously. Later on we are going to discuss your Swadharma. What are your special duties? In that also I will be dwelling upon this. So understand at the human level, you know, this is why the human being is different from animals. For an animal, survival is sufficient. But at the human level, survival is only the first step. After that comes psychosocial evolution. The mind develops. Your goals develop. They become more expansive, broad, inclusive. And that leads to spiritual evolution. So, it is a ladder of evolution in the case of the human being. Human being is the only species who stands erect. Please see this. Your head is above everything else. So, you must use those energies. You must use that intellectual capacity to build your life. Animals are always flat, isn't it? Okay, now we will go into this particular slide. You see your special duties. NRCV told me, please outline this for our students. So, I would say, you see, the very first thing you should know about yourself. आपका क्या special role है हमारे society में? The greater your brilliance, the higher your responsibility. ये आपको समझ में आ रहा है? You are not very young now. You must understand what you have been endowed with. It's a very small percentage of Indian population which has this level of intellect, this capacity of the brain. Since you have it in your life, your responsibility increases. Your responsibility towards your society, towards your nation, towards the world at large. Your responsibilities will be more. Remember, whatever God has endowed us with, to the extent we are able to use it in the right direction, to its utmost capacity, to that extent you will evolve. और किसी तरह का evolution, you need not go and practice it. No other yoga is required if you are doing your karma as a form of worship. So, the more greater your intelligence, the greater becomes your responsibility naturally. So, now understand your responsibilities. You see, when the IAS was instituted after our independence, they adopted a motto. This is that motto, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Yoga is dexterity in action, excellence and energy and character. The efficiency of work comes from all of this. Yoga itself means excellence, dexterity in action, perfection in action. So, your mind is completely there. That is what yoga is. So, make this part of your life. This should be your motto. Excellence in performance no matter what you do. Complete dedication of life energy at the moment to the action to be performed. This should be your special characteristic. Because you are in such an institute, tomorrow you are going to be the leaders of the future. Excellence should be your stamp. And then you must stand firm like a rock when it comes to principles. You know, there is a difference between opinions and principles. What is the difference between opinion and principle? Principle means there are certain things in life which are fixed, which don't change. To be principled means to connect with them. Like, I will be truthful, I will be absolutely honest, I will be inclusive in my outlook. If you want to be a leader, you must be a highly principled person. I will manage my time. If you don't have time management, can you be a leader? Tell me. If you are not able to give your best in any performance, can you be successful as a leader? Your subordinate is better than you. Can you be a leader? इसीलिए मैं कह रही हूँ, certain principles in your life should be fixed. I will not move from that. What you take up, you should be excellent in that, completely dedicated, truthful, honest, sincere to the core, and very high level character. These are basic principles of life. You will not naturally be a leader. Wherever you go, you will be a leader. In any workplace, any company, any corporate, you will be an asset. And manifest heroic character. इसका मतलब है giving in just to peer pressure or public opinion, that doesn't befit you. You must be capable of taking independent decisions. है ना? The more intellectual capacity you have, the more independence you must have. People will look up to you, look up to your decisions in the future. So become aware of this. Right now you have to prepare yourself. Then the ideal of Raja Rishi is there in our culture. Tomorrow when you are well established in life, this ideal you should be able to manifest. हमारे बहुत सारे राजा ऋषि थे. You have plenty in this life, you are all successful in this life, at the same time you have the tempo of a rishi. You are seeking great higher ideals in life. Raja or rishi ka combination. You earn the best here, you get the best here, at the same time you are a high level contributor. At the same time you have a rishi like outlook. What can I do for you is your philosophy of life. And you have dedicated your life energies to higher search, higher research. Life का मकसद क्या है, purpose क्या है? What is the meaning of this self-realization and all that we talk about? This should become real to you. Abhi, I am not going too much into that because we will come to that later on. But an ability to understand the higher purposes of life, to make them real, this should become part of, this will naturally become part of your thinking, because no matter, आप ये समझ लो, this is a psychological law, no matter what goodness comes to you, material goodness comes to you in this life, you will always be asking for more. So वो खत्म कहाँ होता है? That is why there is something called the science of spirituality, the science of consciousness. So at some point you will feel this intensely, but now you must know the ideal of a Raja Rishi is available to you. In fact, that is the ideal every enlightened citizen should have. You are a Raja and a Rishi combined. In a democracy, everybody is a Raja, isn't it? And yet a Rishi. हमारे जनक, बहुत सारे ऐसे राजा थे जो ऋषि थे, ब्रह्म ऋषि थे. So this combination is very ideal for IITians. Then, service first and service last. Service is your ideal of life. With the kind of education you are getting, you must be able to contribute hugely to society. Take this as part and parcel of your life. Don't think, oh, 9 to 5, the same old routine again and again. See, if you have a goal for your service activity, for whatever activity you are doing, if the goal is service based, it is bringing happiness to others, at once your life will become beautiful, very exuberant. If it's only for, well, my ego, myself, you don't like it yourself after some time. So have a broad, expansive goal. Service first and service last, this is your motto. And then inviolate family values for a healthy society. This is something you must know. Don't think all these values are only for sociologists or grihasthas. You must know, you see, an inviolate family relationship is the basis of man's development. Try to see your own life, the emotional security you got, the acceptance you got in your family, the complete safety of your family, that has made you what you are today. That's why your psychology is so clear. Great achievers, Indians have been great achievers wherever they have gone. You know, the basis of that has been family stability. And the basis of that is inviolate relationships. That's why playing with relationships, kabhi mat karna. It is very harmful in the long run. So you must understand, this is actually the fulcrum of your sensitivity and sanity. To pay this respect to family relationships, have committed relationships, and inviolate emotional attitudes. Otherwise, you know what happens, at one point you will be at the mercy of every transient impulse that arises in your mind, because there is no lagam, there is nothing to hold you back. So don't ever reduce yourself to this level. Right now, when I said principles, you must be highly principled. I mean this. Very clear about your emotional attitudes. This is the bedrock of your multidimensional development, please know this. The broad, actually the expansive broad mind of a citizen comes when you are well established in this, when there is basic family stability, and you respect family values. So, actually Ranganathananji Maharaj, one very great monk of our order, he used to say, it is the social ideal of grihastha that grows into the national ideal of citizen. So, agar ye grihastha ashrami theek na rahe, which means no commitments in relationships, if that is shaken, no other ashram can stand. That is why I am telling you, it is so important to have committed relationships. It is so important to allow your energy to flow upward in a particular direction. So don't play with all this. This is not meant to be played with. There are certain areas of life you should not experiment with. Inviolate relationships is at the heart of a stable society. And family is the basic unit of society, isn't it? So abhi se ye sab theek kar lo. No matter what surroundings you are in, what your friends say, you must be very principled about all this. Remember, in our culture, duty has been placed above everything. Your duty as a student, tomorrow your duty towards your profession, your duty towards your family, this is paramount. This is the only way to evolve, to grow up in life. Do you know to what an extent duty was considered paramount in our culture? Here I can tell you the example of, this is an extreme example of a Rajput princess. I don't know if you have heard of it, Hadi Rani. These are all the unsung great heroes of Rajasthan. Is right here next to Delhi. She hailed from Rajasthan, this princess. She was the princess of Bundi. There is a place called Bundi. And she was actually married to Rao Ratan Singh. I have the details here. Yes, he was also called Rawat Chudavat, Rao Ratan Singh. And she came to Mewad after her marriage, and it so happened at that time the Maharana of Mewad had a battle with Aurangzeb, because Aurangzeb had his eye on Rani Prabhavati, I think, of Rupnagar, and this Maharana of Mewad went to her rescue. So there was a clash between Aurangzeb and Maharana of Mewad, and during that time, this Maharana requested Ratan Singh, who was the husband of Hadi Rani, to go and stop the Mughal forces. So a terrible battle would take place, and this happened right on the night when Hadi Rani was married to Ratan Singh. So the call came for battle, and this Ratan Singh, who was also a young man at that time, very young, Hadi Rani was just a girl. And so Ratan Singh was very hesitant, because if something happened to him, what would she do? In those days, women used to commit sati, hai na? So he was very hesitant to go to this battle, but Hadi Rani pushed him. She forced him to take the army and go out for battle, and she told him that this is how we have to defend the Rajput honor. You see, what a great woman. She said, from my childhood, my mother has taught me this. that you must stand up for your honor, for the dignity of the Rajput clan, and you must even sacrifice your life if required for this, because duty is above everything else. Just now your duty is to defend our kingdom and to obey Maharana of Mewad. So go for battle. And he went very hesitatingly, but then after some time a maid came to Hadi Rani and said, well, Ratan Singh wants a memento before he goes for the battle. And then Hadi Rani understood that there's a certain level of resistance in him, reluctance in him. So you know what she sent as a memento? Exactly. She asked for a sword, and then she told that maid to stand there, and whatever she did, she said, my head should be carried to Ratan Singh. She just sliced her head with one stroke of the sword. She chopped off her head, and the maid put that on a platter and covered it with a red cloth and took it to Ratan Singh. This was her memento to her husband. And he didn't know what to expect, and when he removed the cloth, he saw her head, and he was so shocked and shattered. He tied that head, it seems, to his neck with the hair, and went and fought such a battle that Aurangzeb's forces were routed completely. Fiercely they fought, and then they won the war, but he didn't come back. Ratan Singh killed himself in the battlefield after he won the war. He just beheaded his head, because he understood that such a great sacrifice on the part of this woman, and he didn't know what to make of it. So I think he's the only man who committed sati. It inspired him so much, her heroic act. But you see, it's an unimaginable act of sacrifice, isn't it, for a great ideal. So that her husband goes to war and defends the kingdom. So ऐसे बहुत सारे stories हैं हमारे culture में. Duty is placed above everything. You just imagine and see what this young girl has done. ऐसे कितने सारे unsung heroes are there. So you see, in our culture always, that's why I told you, duty first and duty last. Always. इसी के बारे में सोचना. Your entire ethical understanding should be based on the idea of duty. आप भगवद गीता पढ़ोगे, very intensely if you read, you will see this is the idea which will come out. In your particular station of life, be true to it. Do your duty, what is required of you there, that itself will take you forward. You don't have to think of anything else. So remember this. Next is, you become the center of reliability for all people. What is the meaning of this? Such a level of character that everybody knows how your responses and reactions are going to be, so they give responsibility to you. ये आपकी समझ में आ रहा है? In an organization, this works so well. If people know your responses, your reliability coefficient, if they know your behavior in every particular circumstance, they will depend upon you. If you are all the time whimsical or over emotional or given only to the opinions of others, do you think anybody will rely on you? छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं, लेकिन right now you must be so principled. So if you are principled, you will be independent. If there are no principles, you depend on majority opinion, isn't it? It's so obvious. So along with your studies, your technical expertise, you must develop this character excellence just now, and it will become part of your life. After many years, after this course is over, you should be able to come and tell me that what we picked up from here was useful to my life. This is what you should pick up. Mainly I want this. What credit you get is all secondary for me, but you must pick up these values, the inspiration of great lives, that you should pick up. Now the next thing is, yes, you galvanize the world with the power of your character. हमेशा ये याद रखना. I am telling you, read success stories of great leaders and you will see this was a deciding factor. At any given moment of time, character is very high. If this is lacking, you can only be a temporary leader at the most, due to just your performance. So these are all part of your swadharma. Jaan lo. This is part and parcel of your duty, now and in the future. When I constantly talk of contribution, you see, there is a way to contribute. This is also something I would like to cover in this session. How will you give? How will you contribute? If you are contributing monetarily, how will you give? देखिए तैत्तिरीय उपनिषद में बहुत सुंदर भाव से ढंग से ये दिया गया है, श्रद्धया देयम, अश्रद्धया अदेयम. देना हो तो श्रद्धा के साथ देना. Don't flip the thing like this. Don't do it disrespectfully. You must give with full shraddha. Hriyadeyam, Shriyadeyam, Samvidadeyam. Hriyadeyam means give with modesty. Give, Shriyadeyam means give in plenty. Contribute according to your means. And Samvidadeyam, give with knowledge. Don't give blindly. So this is the method of contribution which they are talking of. Give with modesty. Contribute as much as you can, and with shraddha and with knowledge, with faith. So then it becomes an act of worship literally, isn't it? जब आप भगवान को पूजा चढ़ाते हो, कैसे चढ़ाते हो, किस भाव से चढ़ाते हो, कर्म भी उसी भाव से करना चाहिए, है ना? How modest you are, how restrained you are, controlled you are, कर्म भी उसी भाव से करना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं है in the workplace you are an absolute dictator, but पूजा रूम में आप दूसरा हो. This should go. कर्म का जो फील्ड है वही आपका पूजा रूम है, कर्म ही पूजा है, अगर ठीक भाव रखो मन में, है ना? ठीक कह रहे हैं ना? So these are the beautiful things you must develop here. Now I would also like to talk about one thing. See, Karma Yoga, it does not expect things from you which you cannot do. If you in any particular context, you see, you put your concern for yourself in the larger public context, social context, and you will be able to work efficiently. What this means is, Bhagavad Gita में आता है परस्परम भावयन्त श्रेय परमवाप्स्यत, which means in political philosophy it's called enlightened self-interest. You know, you place your own interest in a larger context. Always it works. Don't put, I will give you an example for this. Let me give you the example first. It is from the life of the late Goan Chief Minister Manohar Parrikar. आपने सुना है वो watermelon का incident उनके life में? बहुत interesting है. See, he grew up in a village near Goa called Para. That's why they are called Parrikars. And क्या हुआ? That village was famous for watermelons. So in this harvest season, which is May month, huge crop of watermelons used to come out every year. So the farmer, one farmer especially, he took the lead and he used to arrange a watermelon eating competition for the children of the village. All the children had to come and eat as much watermelons as they want. And he used to give huge ones, the best ones, to the children. And he also used to give them a cup in which they had to spit out the seeds. Now all these village children used to come, including Manohar Parrikar ji, wo bhi jate the, and all of them would sit and eat for hours. They would eat watermelons and spit out the seeds in that cup. Now what the farmer was actually doing was, he was collecting seeds for the next crop. This is like a unpaid child labor, you know. But at the same time benefiting the children of the village who are very happy for the watermelon. They would wait for that watermelon eating competition. So extracting those seeds, he would use those very seeds, he would plant them again next year and would get, in watermelons, you know, one generation is 1 year. So next year again he would plant those same huge seeds which he got from the best watermelons, and he would have a fantastic crop next year also. Like this it continued until Manohar Parrikar came to the age of, when he went to IIT Mumbai for his training, his education. Then he finished his education there. After 7 years he went back to his village, and suddenly he noticed watermelons have become so small in size. They are no more the watermelons which he used to gulp when he was a child. They have become small and they look so strange. He had never seen such small undeveloped watermelons. So he went and asked that farmer who used to conduct the competition what happened. It seems that farmer's business had been taken over by his son. उम्र के साथ वो retire हो गए थे और his son had taken up the business, and this son thought Why should I give my best watermelons to these children to eat? I will sell them for more money and I will give them the undeveloped small ones. So that's what he did. He would call the children, and for these 7 years that's what he did. He gave them the undeveloped small watermelons. Now the seeds which came out of that were also the undeveloped seeds, and he put them in the next year's crop. So the watermelons started growing smaller and smaller in size every year. By the end of the 7-year period, they were small undeveloped ones, and that is why the competition also stopped. No more watermelon eating competition. So what they are trying to tell us is, then Manohar Parrikar ji says there, he said this in a speech in Gujarat. He says that, you see, for watermelon crop, 1 year is 1 generation. In the human being, 1 generation is how many years? 25 years. If today we don't take care of what education we are giving our children, it will take us 200 years to understand where we went wrong in educating our children, what we didn't give them, why the watermelons became small, what seeds did they throw out. Today if we don't pay attention, if you don't become idealistic and dutiful, no matter what you have tomorrow, how big a house you have, how many cars you have, you will not bring happiness to yourself or to your society, not to speak of the world at large. But if today you develop some of these ideals, and you will be not only able to contribute to your society, to your family, to the world at large, but you will have deep satisfaction within yourself. Parasparam bhavayanta, this is what it means. It's mutual. Growth is mutual always. Mutual funds आपने सुना है ना, banks में, always it is like that. So remember, give and take, exchange is the law of life. And if you don't put your contribution, then it will not work. So try to understand, that's why parasparam bhavayanta shreya paramavapsyata, Gita says. Then you will, shreyaskar hota hai wo. It's a mutual exchange of healthy things. For a society to grow, we need enlightened citizens. For enlightened citizens, there must be enlightened grihasthas, rishi-like people. And for that, you must have a base in all these values which we are discussing. Without that, a society cannot grow. Don't think your idea of a great society today is what I know. Smart city, आप किसको कहते हैं? 5 GB connection, 24/7. This is your idea of smart city just now. But you must transcend this idea gradually. 5 GB network होने से आपको क्या होगा? The content of what you take in through your senses is going to decide the quality of your mind. So refining every level of your system so that you get the best experiences of life. Experience comes from within, isn't it? Or just from outside? Outside things trigger your experience, but experience comes from within. So the definition of a great city or smart city cannot be just a 5 GB network all the time. It should be something much, much more than that. Vivekananda used to say, that is a great society where the highest truths become practical, where the highest values have become practical. So, aap hi soch lo, what kind of a tomorrow you want to create and give your children. Now, with this example, we will just go into these slides, and then I have a huge announcement to make for the practical part. I will go into that. Just let us dwell on a few verses from the Bhagavad Gita, which will help you identify and stick to one's swadharma. This is what it is speaking about. You see, the 18th chapter has this. Sve sve karmanya bhirata samsiddhim labhate naraha swakarma nirata siddhim yatha vindati tachruno. माने अपना अपना कर्म करने से समसिद्धि लाभ हो सकती है, यही कह रहे हैं. How it is possible? He explains. Lord Krishna explains. Just by doing your duty, you can go to the highest. समझ में आ रहा है? So don't compartmentalize life. 5 minutes for yoga, the rest of the time working feverishly and angrily, then going out for a walk, going out for sports, compartmentalizing your whole life. No, anything you do should become yoga. This is the ideal, and you must work towards it. Anything I do, I will do with a state of mind which will usher in the yogic state of mind. Then, यत प्रवृत्तिर्भूतानां येन सर्वमिदं ततं स्वकर्मणा तमभ्यर्च्य सिद्धिं विन्दति मानवः। माने जिससे जिनसे प्रवृत्ति आती है भूतानाम, भूतों में, which means that which is the starting point of creation, starting point of pravritti in creation, yena sarvamidam tatam, that he who pervades everything. How do you worship him? Swakarmana tamabhyarcha. You worship him through your work. Siddhim, and this in this way siddhim vindati manava. This way a man attains to the highest spirituality, he is saying. So इसीलिए भगवान को वर्शिप करना, डोंट थिंक इट इज जस्ट धूप चढ़ाना, प्रसाद चढ़ाना, यही है वर्शिप. सी, योर आइडिया ऑफ वर्शिप ऑफ द डिवाइन शुड चेंज विद कर्मयोग. हिज वर्शिप इज, योर एक्शन इज वर्शिप, बिकॉज योर लाइफ एनर्जी इज नथिंग बट हिज एक्सप्रेशन. ही इज वर्किंग थ्रू योर इंस्ट्रूमेंटेशन, व्हाट यू आर कॉलिंग आई. थोड़ा सा उसके बारे में सोच के देखो, व्हाट आई मीन्स. Is it just body and mind? That's the instrument through which you are working, and that belongs to him. So you are offering to him what is already his. That is why every work you do should actually be worship, and it is not some special thing which alone is worship, some special ritual alone is worship. Every work can be done as worship. It can elevate you. This is the message of the Bhagavad Gita. Then he says, Shreyan swadharmo viguna paradharmat swanushtitat swabhava niyatam karma kurvanapnoti kilbisham. Better is one's own duty, though devoid of merit, than the duty of another well performed. For performing duty ordained by his own nature, man incurs no sin. Think about this and see. Your own nature. You see, I told you, your brilliant intellect has brought you here today. So your duties will be in a way fixed. A set of duties will be fixed. You must be true to them. This is what is expected of you. अपने स्वधर्म के प्रति निष्ठा. Then there is one more verse which is not given there. Sahajam karma kaunteya sadosham api na tyajet. He says, sarvarambha hi doshena dhumena agni rivavritaha. इसका मतलब है every work, it will have a mixture of results. Just like how you see, there will be a measure of good and evil in every work. Just like how he says, fire covered by smoke. Know that all undertakings are beset by some evil, as is fire covered by smoke. So that doesn't mean you run away from that work. You must do it to the best of your ability with the best of intentions and convert it into a yoga. So these are all actually he is giving principles for leadership. Whenever problems descend upon you in your workplace, if you say nahi karne se bhi chalega, करने की क्या आवश्यकता है, this will be the result. No, if it's your duty, you should do it, and the results will take care of themselves. So all undertakings can have mixed results, but you must do what is your duty at a given moment. Please remember this. You must do your duty no matter what in any given situation of life, and the best results will come out of it if you have been dutiful. So you see, the highest honors of any nation, of any democracy, will be for the most dutiful. है ना? परमवीर चक्र हम क्या किसको देते हैं? किनको देते हैं? Where duty has been above everything else, that is the most honorable position for a man. So develop this. इसके प्रति निष्ठा अभी से हम develop करेंगे. Okay? Let me end the session here for today.